I'm Shilpa Maniar. I'm the global head of ad safety here at Google, and I'm also one of the chairs of the Indus Google Network. And I am delighted to have with us here a clinical dietitian, nutritionist, Ayurvedic expert, a mission-driven entrepreneur, a perpetual student, and author to a plant-based cookbook, JoyFull.
Thank you. That was such a sweet introduction. You're like a little hype woman, you are. I loved it.
And so today we're here to talk about this book that you just launched today, or yesterday, JoyFull, which is Cook Effortlessly, Eat Freely, and Live Radiantly. And so we're going to dissect this book and talk about these 125 plus plant-based recipes that are just perfect for people that are busy because it gives you a practical approach to making you feel your best. Radhi has been featured in so many different publications talking about Vogue India, People Magazine, Goop. She was on the Today Show yesterday, Access Hollywood. She joins us now for Talks at Google to add to that list, hopefully. And,
the best one, honestly. Yeah.
Did you get that, Patrick? The best one. And she has a loyal community of 3 million plus followers across social media platforms, including YouTube. So thank you so much for that.
My goodness, I feel really hyped up now. I'm ready to go.
And so for all of you, Radhi lives in Los Angeles, maybe one day again in New York City. I know you used to live here.
I loved it.
And she resides in LA with her husband, who is a purpose coach. He is an author and he is a podcast host as well, Shetty.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we're here to talk about JoyFull. If you guys follow the news, I mean, what a week it's been for you. It launched yesterday.
It's been amazing. I honestly had no idea. I was saying this to my team this morning. I was like, when I was creating the book, I was doing it so much, one, for myself, to really be able to pour all the information that my teachers had given me into a space that I could share with other people. But I had no concept of I wasn't even thinking about numbers or lists or anything to do with that. And when I saw that a vegan cookbook, like a plant-based cookbook, with Indian heritage and so much of my my family being in there, that was something that people were resonating with, it was just the most incredible thing. Yesterday was such a shock, but also just it's so nice to see that people love it.
So she's being humble here. This book was #1 on vegan charts, vegetarian charts for Amazon. Amazing. #5 overall with novels and fiction books and nonfiction. So congratulations.
Thank you. It's a shock to me, but I'm so excited. And I'm so grateful to be here with you all. Thank you so much for being so welcoming. And I'm excited to share this recipe with you guys.
And so I know you all have a book in your hand, and for those of you who might not have had a chance to flip through it yet, this book has over 125 plus plant-based recipes.
Yeah.
But one of the most unique things about it is it's just not about the food and the meals, but it's about the Ayurvedic principles that you tied into it and how you're able to also put in steps of transforming your daily habits.
Yeah.
So can we talk about that process of writing this book for you, what that process was like, and how your family, your mom, your dad, your ba, your Jay, your sister, how they all played a role in cultivating these recipes?
Yeah, absolutely. When I first thought about writing a cookbook, the one thing I said was, I don't want it to just be a cookbook, because I feel like health for me, as I've been growing up, even from the moment that I feel like I was born, my mom was cooking nutritious, delicious food from our culture. And I grew up vegetarian, and she had a full-time job, and she was making us fresh breakfast, lunch, dinner every single day, no matter what. And it wasn't just a meal, it was cooked with so much love. My grandma did the same thing. And I feel like all of that love that was poured into the food and watching her and how much joy she got out of it, it really fueled everything in me. I feel like I got that through the food and it went into my blood, and I was like, this is what I need to be doing. And then I decided to go into nutrition. That was actually my mom's idea too. She's just an incredible person. She knew exactly what I needed in my life. And I became a nutritionist, and I learned so much about how food affects the body and how the food that we eat actually assimilate into our entire being. And I just found that so fascinating. And then I went on to further study Ayurveda, and having those principles in the book, when I learned, when you feel like a place is home, Ayurveda felt like home for my health for me. And it was a place where I felt I understood my body the most. When I learned about the practices, every single ritual I incorporated started a change in my body. It started changing my mindset. And so whether it was scraping my tongue in the morning, which by the way, who here has a tongue scraper? Yes. If you don't have a tongue scraper, you don't know how clean your mouth can be. I'm just going to put that out there.
It's not a glamorous looking thing, but you feel
glamorous looking. Exactly. So whether it was something as simple as that to understanding how to interact with my food and what the meaning of the food is and how I can pour so much into it to not just nourish my body, but my mind and my heart too. And I know it sounds really woo-woo sometimes, but it's so true. Energy exists everywhere. And so what you end up putting into the food that you're eating also goes into your body. And so I wanted all of that to be in there, from morning to evening, from like wellness rituals to breath work, which by the way has changed my whole entire life. Whether it's the anxiety before I came into this room, whether it's energizing me in the afternoon, whether it's helping me to sleep in the evening, it's like breath work has been such a deep part of my life for me to slow down and really be present. And I wanted to share all of those things with you. So there's so much in the book. It's not just recipes, even though the recipes are, you know, the core part of it, weaved through it. There's just so much. I had someone message me yesterday and they were like, I just can't wait to snuggle into bed and read the book. And I was like, I love that this cookbook can be that for people too.
No, I took it on the plane with me just this past weekend and I was like, okay, I'm going to look at some yummy pictures of food and be really hungry and starving on this plane. But I was like, it's going to be great. And then I was like, oh wow, I'm actually learning so much about macronutrients, micronutrients, the different cycles of life and how you can apply your food to different phases, your Vata, Pitta, Kapha timings. Yeah. And so can we talk a little bit about how you've kind of written this book in a way that really captures the cycles of the day and what that morning to night routine is for you?
Yeah, I've started the book, again, it goes from morning to evening. And so everything from how to curate your own morning routine. And for me, that involves meditation practice. So I speak about the meditation practice that I've had for over 8 years now. The morning rituals that I do, from breath work to skincare, because a bit of self-love is necessary. Like I always see skincare, and I talk about a practice called self-massage, which is abhyanga. It's like using medicated oils to massage your own body. And I think of how it feels when you hug somebody else and how much life it can give into you. And in the same way, when you end up practicing little rituals for yourself, it's a way of telling your body, I love you and I care about you. And I think food is exactly that, right? Like you fuel your body and you're not thinking, let me just shove this burrito in my mouth while I'm typing here and while I'm running around, and then you don't even know whether you've eaten or not. You're still hungry afterwards because you haven't even told your body it's time to eat. And so slowing down and figuring out, how can I optimize my life for myself? Not the person online telling me to eat this salad because it's going to give me six-pack abs. No, when I'm eating it, how does it make me feel? Like, is my digestion good? Am I feeling great when I'm eating this food? Or am I just listening to what everybody else is telling me? And so the book is a guide. It is not prescriptive. It's for you to take and then utilize in your own lives in your own way. And so that's why I really wanted it to be that a guide versus being something where I'm telling you, do this, this is what's right for you, this is what's wrong for you. No, you know what that is best for you. So I just teach you how to tune into that and understand your body better.
And so, as you're talking about that, and I thought that was an interesting angle where you weren't talking about like, eat this because it's good for the uniform or the uniform of a person. You really talked about how every individual body is its own unique mix. And so not one thing. I think you said avocados might be great for you, but might not be great for someone else. So to really explore and understand your oin diet.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to just kind of go back to the Ayurveda, because a lot of times, although it's been ancient and it's been around for so long, it might be a new concept for some. How do you find your Ayurvedic dosha? Like, what are some tips you have for folks to figure out if they're fiery, or if that's the time of day that they should be hungry, or if they're a kapha and it's okay to be a little bit lethargic or lazy, or not lazy, but like, a little tired.
Yeah. I talk about the doshas very briefly in the book. The book is not an Ayurvedic book, but it definitely has the principles and the basic understanding going through it. And honestly, there's great quizzes online. So I'll start with that. I have something in my book that you can learn your doshas from.
Maybe.
You can go to google.com and you can type in what's my dosha. But I also would say, even before even finding out what your dosha is, start a food journal, a food and response journal, I would call it. Eat the food that you're eating. And then 2 hours later, 3 hours later, and even in the moment, write down how it is making your body feel. Because food that is good for you and food that is good for your own body should energize you. It should make you feel like you are vibrant and uplifted in your mind and your body. And so if you're eating food and it's making you feel lethargic afterwards, it's making you feel uncomfortable, it's bringing you any discomfort in your body, that's probably an indication that something you're eating isn't sitting right with you, or it's not great for your body type in this moment in time. And so a perfect way to start this is start a food diary. write down what you're eating and how it's making you feel, and start noticing, because the first step of anything is just observing, like how is it actually impacting my body? So before even taking the dosha quiz, I recommend doing that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I think that as I look in this room and I think of the folks watching online, we have accessibility to food everywhere. So I think it's important for us to take a minute to take a step back to really think before we pick up a dish of food. You know, I think we're privileged to have that opportunity here. Definitely. So really to be thoughtful and conscious in what we're eating.
Absolutely.
You know, I'll try to take a log. It's tough when I'm getting a bag of chips every 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll talk about the joyful tips of living as well later. So one of the things that, you know, we also were talking about earlier, Radhi, was that, you know, knowing what's good for your body, understanding kind of the Ayurvedic dosha that your body might exhibit, is that one way to be an active participant? Can you go into how do you really have a conscious way of living and eat intentionally? Like, how do you become an active participant?
First step being observing, as I just mentioned, and then it's, you know, mindful means how can I be present and full in mind every single moment of the day. And so it's observing from the moment you, like when I think about cooking, and if I was doing it in the most perfect mindful way, this is how I would see it. You start by, when you first go to the grocery store and you're picking your ingredients, you're not thinking about the senses and how it's going to satisfy you. You're thinking about how can I nourish my body. Start from that point of view. And then you're picking the ingredients based on longevity and by the way, I forgot to mention, Ayur means life and Veda means knowledge. It's life or longevity. And so it is the practice of creating a long, healthy, beautiful life. And so when you think about that, when you're picking the ingredients, picking the food that you know what, don't go shopping hungry. That's the first thing I'm going to say. Never do that. And then pick the ingredients that you are really wanting to nourish your body. And then when you get back home, you start off by thinking about what intention do I want to put into this food? And the way that I think about it is, I want to nourish my body in order to serve the world in a specific way. And so even having that second thought of what do I want to put into this food for it to nourish my body? What's the intention for it? Why do I want to fuel my body? Why do I want to eat this food? What is it actually doing for me? And then when you come to cooking the food, being present, like looking at the colors, thinking about the smells, seeing what's going into your senses. Our senses are the key to be present in the moment. Every time you find yourself disconnected, connect back to what can I smell? What can I taste? What can I touch? What can I see? And that helps you come back into the moment. And so when you're cooking, you can do the same thing. And this sounds like a really long process, but actually when you do it, it's not. It's just about being there in the moment in time and actually noticing what's happening. Yeah. And then experimenting. Like, I think you should be able to play in the kitchen. That's why I call the book Joyful, for other reasons also. But being in the kitchen should be playful. It doesn't have to be something that feels you know,
sometimes it does feel overwhelming.
It can feel overwhelming,
and I think
sure.
that, you know, I think it's important, and it's science and it's experimental, like you said, but, you know, it can be stressful for some folks who have a busy schedule, but they do want to learn how to feel relaxed and feel that joy when they're playing around with the ingredients. And so I think you said breath work earlier is the way that you feel grounded when you feel anxiety.
And one-pot meals, game changer. Okay, if you have low on time, get a Instapot, get a pan, throw everything in. The key to good tasting food in a short amount of time is spices. My book talks about, my hope for the book for all of you is by the time you get to the end of it, your spice cupboards are full. I have 4 drawers of spices and I'm still adding to it. It's like my favorite section in my kitchen. Not just because they add flavor, but because of how medicinal they are. For the past 10 years, I've used spices to heal my body every single day. And they are so potent and so magical, like you just have no idea until you start using them. Yeah. And so use spices to, if you're scared of getting in the kitchen, get some ready bought spice mixes, garam masala being a great one for Indian spice, Chinese spice, we're using it today, a Mexican taco seasoning. Like, you can just get some basic mixes, throw that in with some veggies, your protein of choice, a bit of, you know, rice or some carbs that you like, a grain. Add some spices, and that's honestly an incredible meal that you can have. And I have a lot of one-pot.
And it sounds just as simple as you say it. No, you say it so beautifully, and I know that it does take you're an expert. You've been working on, you've been a vegan for quite a long time. And
I've been practicing for a while. Yeah, I still feel like a student, but yeah, still practicing.
And, I think this book really gives us the practical toolkit of how to know how to mix the spices and really be a chemist in your own kitchen.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was just reading online is that, did you know only 1% of the world is considered vegan? That's 79 million people in the entire world is actually, practicing a vegan diet. Mm-hmm. And so, I think you said you've been a perpetual student in it. What inspired you to want to adapt this type of lifestyle? I don't know if you would call it a lifestyle or just kind of a way of eating.
So my sister is 4 years older than me. She read a book called Eating Animals by James Saffron. And I thought my sister was so cool. And I was like, I'm going to do whatever she's doing. So I'm turning vegan too. And she was like, wait, read the book first, so you actually know why you're doing this. And so I read the book, and honestly, I just couldn't unlearn or unsee the things that I had read. And from that point on, it wasn't just a drastic change where I cut everything out. I wanted it to be a sustainable change. And so I slowly worked my way through different parts of my life where I had dairy. And so I cut out milk first, find an alternative. The last thing I cut out was chocolate and cheese, because British chocolate is amazing and cheese is just incredible. And so I cut them out last, but it took me at least 6-7 months to make that transition. But it was everything from, the foundation of it was I didn't feel like my satisfaction was worth something else's suffering. And that's what I just think about every time I would even think about relapsing or like going back. I'd be like, is this worth it for me? Like, is this really worth me eating this for my taste buds, for someone else or something else or another living being suffering? And so I just never went back after that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that, I do eat a variety of different food, but like recently I've been learning more about veganism and just the ethics behind it. And I think that it really is inspiring, and there's so many medical benefits to it. So
absolutely.
If we could, what are your thoughts on how it impacts the gut microbiome and on non-dairy supplements, like probiotic supplements for the diet?
Yeah, I mean, look, the more variety you have in your diet of fruits and vegetables, the better your microbiome is. The point is you feed your microbiome, and it's so varied. And so the different colors that you have in your food, the different vegetables you pick every single week, try something new, try something different. That all creates a better microbiome. So the more veggies you're eating, the better. Yeah. So it's not to say that you shouldn't eat whatever else everybody else chooses to eat. That's not the case. But just add extra bits in that you're not used to having. And then probiotics and prebiotics, I think that they are great. I have a symbiotic too. It's like a 2-in-1. I think our gut health really suffers because of a lot of the processed food that we eat, because of a lot of the kind of chemicals and all the things that we don't even realize are in our food. And so I say the more help with our gut, the better. And I talk about that a lot in the book, of the different types of food and how they actually impact our gut, and then also our mindset when we live throughout the day, that food doesn't just affect our gut and our body, it actually has the ability to impact our mindset and how our mood and our energy levels too.
And talking about that, we were, I think it makes it like everything looks so beautiful, right? And it makes you want to eat it, and it's good for your body, it's good for your soul, it's good for your mind. But then sometimes people struggle with, am I getting enough protein? Yeah. And so how do you balance are your proteins, your carb, like, are you getting everything you need to really for the nutrition?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have and this is, you guys already have the book, so I'm not trying to sell you the book. I actually have, I'm just letting you know what's in it. But in my book, I actually have a whole section, because I totally understand that. It says, am I going to get enough protein? And I have grown up, and I can say this is me genuinely telling you this, not to brag being a vegan, but I've had blood tests done regularly. The only thing that I've been deficient in is vitamin D, which I get vitamin D shots for. But apart from that, my protein levels, my calcium levels, my everything, because I didn't go to like meat substitutes. I wasn't trying to go to foods that actually have zero nutritional benefit. When you think about turning plant-based, it's not about what mock meat can I eat, and if that's great. If you need that for texture and to try and transition, I get that. But actually, if you end up having a variety on your plate, you get all the vitamins and minerals that you need. And protein, actually, it's easier than we think. I remember reading a study, and I think this is in the book, where over 70% of the US population eats more protein than they actually need.
It is in the book.
Yeah, it is in the book, right? And so So actually what we need are proteins that we can digest well, because there's one thing about getting enough protein. It's about whether your body's actually metabolizing it. And so my thing is go to the source. We are having either the protein that's digested through the plants that the animals are eating, or we can go directly to the plants and eat them and digest them from there.
No, that's really helpful, because I think that helps to change the perception, because I feel like changing to a plant-based diet can be overwhelming. So as long as you can find the tools, which your book does give really great practical tools on, like how do you incorporate the right proteins, carbohydrates, and get the right mix of nutrients.
And I also think, like, start where you're at. Like, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing, right? Like, you don't have to be fully plant-based. You can decide to have a plant-based day, or 2 days in your week that you decide to do it. It doesn't have to be like, don't be hard on yourself. Transitioning is really difficult. And even if you never want to transition, it's just about incorporating more days where you maybe are thinking more plant forward. Yeah. So I just wanted to add that, because I don't want it to seem like I'm like, be vegan, because that's really not what the book's about.
No, but it's about healthy living and living joyfully. And so, like the cover says, you know, joyful, really being able to cook effortlessly, eat freely, and live radiantly. You talk about some 9 helpful tips of how do you live joyfully. And so I know that we're between now and we're probably all feeling that pit of time where we're hungry. But can you talk a little bit about a few of those tips? One you say is avoid snacking. What are the benefits of avoiding snacking?
I heard that's a bit difficult here. I heard it's a bit difficult. Look, I get why we snack. A lot of the time we snack not because we're hungry, but because we kind of want something to do.
You see it.
And I imagine there's a nice social area here. You go, you graze, you chat. The reason is because our body needs time to digest food. And so the more you keep adding to it, the harder it is for your body to keep digesting over and over again. We also need gaps. And so it's recommended that we have 3 hours between our meals to allow our body to fully digest. Because if you think about it as a pressure cooker. Imagine your stomach as that. If you end up cooking some rice and then you add on raw rice again, the rice, it's gonna start cooking the top. Everything is uncooked, like in some way or another. And so actually it ends up leaving, the food ends up fermenting in your stomach because it's undigested and uncooked, especially if you overload your stomach. And then that leads to toxins in the body and can lead to health conditions and disease over time. And so imagine you just have to kind of empty your gut to then refuel it, empty your gut to then refuel it. And it allows your digestive fluids, you get enough digestive fluids for the amount of food that you're actually eating. It's able to metabolize and digest it better and then assimilate all the nutrients into your body in that way. And so we eat a lot more than we probably need. And one of the other principles is eat to your 75% full.
Or satisfied. Satisfied. Eat till you're satisfied, not full. And I think the Japanese say 80%, right?
Yes.
And so that's another thing I think we struggle here, is that we have such accessibility to food, which again is a privilege, but it's easy to eat till you're stuffed. And so what are the benefits of just eating till you're satisfied? Kind of similar in terms of the stacking?
Yeah, absolutely. One, it gives your body your body will produce a certain amount of acids and stomach acids and digestive fluids. And so when you end up overloading it, it's just too much for your body to actually take on. Another thing is lethargy and feeling tired afterwards. The worst thing you want is middle of the day, you guys are eating lunch and you're having your snacks and you're filling yourself, and then you don't have the energy that you actually need to do the work that you want to do. You start feeling sleepy at your desk, or, and so even though
it's difficult, nap pods for that reason.
Yeah, exactly. That's also true. Even though it probably tastes good, it's also another cue that your body's giving you. And the way that to actually hear that cue is slow down when you're eating. Because
you said chew, right? You were saying you have to
chew your food. Like my granddad at the table would tell us all we have to chew our food a minimum of 32 times before we swallowed it. So we say 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So I don't do that. But it was a really great way to hone the practice in, where fine, I won't do it 32 times, but let me see if I'm even chewing it 4 times. Because a lot of the time we're not even chewing it 4 times.
I tried yesterday, and I think I was stopping at like 3 or 4, and then I tried to do till 10, and then I got really tired, and then I just started eating. It's tough. It's tough, but you're right. It's chewing. And then the other thing, and I want to go to the actual demo and have Radhi prepare a dish for all of us.
Yes, let's do it.
You talk about eating with your hands and cooking with your hands. Can you talk about how that helps your mind, body, and soul?
Oh my gosh, I mean, I feel like I see so many people who are from an Indian background here, and I'm sure in so many other cultures, eating with your hands is just what is natural to us. And it is beautiful because using a spoon while you're eating, it's another disconnect to the food. And so touching the food, seeing the food, and actually allowing the feeling of touch to interact with the food, it gets your body, it kind of signals to your body that, hey, we're about to eat right now. They touch the food, you're like, oh, okay, I can feel that there's food coming. When you're touching a metal, there's no energy in that. You have no idea what's happening. And so it's just another subtle way to get your body prepared, like, hey, our body is a system. Like, hey, I'm just letting you know, food's coming your way. Start preparing those enzymes on my tongue, get those digestive juices flowing. And yeah, it's just another great signal.
And so with that, I think we're going to start getting our hands a little dirty and start cooking. So
you guys are going to be tasting this. Yeah, shortly.
Everyone's going to get to try it in the live studio. And so today we're preparing the sticky hoisin udon noodles. I practiced saying that. It was it was a work. So we're excited to practice. We're going to make that recipe. It's page 94 in the book for those of you that have the book. And one of the things you said about this meal is when you have a busy day, it's
getting this on.
It's kind of like getting takeout food, but making it on your own. It takes 20 minutes to make. And so I think that was a really interesting analogy you had to this dish.
Yeah, it's so fast, and what's great about it is I also have an add-on to this where you can add in a crispy tofu for your protein. So you can add this on. We didn't do this for this demo, but you look at all the different colors of the veggies you're getting into this dish. So it's all in one pan, sauteing the veggies. You've got all the spices in here too. And it's done in less than 20 minutes. So I love this. This is one of my go-tos on a weekly basis.
This meal.
Yeah.
And one of the things it does, it looks absolutely beautiful. And we were just talking about this earlier, is that the different colors are almost essential in your diet. So to know if you're getting enough macro and micronutrients is to look at the colors.
Eat the rainbow. Yeah, I feel like that's a saying that's been going on for ages, but it's so true. The more variety you have on your plate, that's an indication. Every single different colored fruit and vegetable actually carries different vitamins and minerals. And so eat the rainbow.
And
okay,
so,
should we start off?
Yeah, let's do it.
Get going with the recipe.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Okay, so how can I help you here? Should I pass you the ingredients?
You can just pass, yeah. Okay. Have things in. I feel like you will know the recipe. So we are starting off with some sesame oil. The flavor of sesame oil, especially in this type of dish, is just great. I also recommend experimenting with oils because they all taste so different. I usually use olive oils in dressings and to drizzle over. I love a chili oil for that too. Sesame oil for a nuttier, earthier flavor. You know, it definitely is used in more of like Chinese cuisine, which I absolutely love. Indo-Chinese food too.
And how do you know which heat to cook the different oils in?
Yeah, so I use avocado oil for heating on a high heat. Olive oil if I'm sauteing lightly or if I am drizzling. And sesame oil also has a high heat. Yeah. Okay, so one spice we're going to start off with. This is a spice that you may not all know, but is actually essential in the book. It's called asafoetida. Another word for it is hing. And all the Indians laughing. Yeah, everyone knows it. The asafoetida is actually, it mimics the flavor of onion and garlic. And the reason I use that a lot in my recipes instead of onion and garlic is because, look, if anybody here has had gut issues, onion and garlic can be the number one thing that doctors recommend to take out of your diet, because although it gives great flavor, it can actually upset the digestion and stomach if used in excess, which is what we all do. And so asafoetida is a really lovely spice to substitute that with, and it's gentler on the gut and actually helps with digestion too.
My mom always had it in the center of our masala.
Oh yeah.
I feel like everyone who has had Asian food or South Asian food knows they have a masala, a spice box. Is that what you call it, a box? And then hing, which is what we called it, was always in the center, which is really good.
So we're going to heat up the oil. Another trick is spices are activated when you add them to fat, and so I recommend when you're cooking, make sure you're adding your spices into the oil first. It releases the aromas, but also releases all the, makes the medicinal qualities more available in the spices. Just going to wait for this to heat up a little bit.
This is usually the way I like to cook, which is I read and I hand.
I love that.
This is good.
I love this.
I'd love to be your sous chef one day.
I just want to check whether this is...
Is it on?
Are we good? Yeah, I think so. Oh, cranking it up to saute. Okay, so next up we are going to add in our ginger. So we have grated ginger here. I'm going to use my hand. I'm going to wait for that to sizzle. And then, what else do you want to add in?
Do you want to add?
I think we should add in all the veggies right now, yeah. First things first, saute the veggies. Yeah.
Okay, should we put in the mushrooms first?
Yeah. Okay. I feel like we should also do, like, if anybody has any questions, throw them out.
Yeah.
If you want to ask me anything, comment on anything, tell me how to adjust this recipe. I'm all in for a bit of interaction.
True.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Do you have a question? Do we have microphones in the room? Do we have any mics to pass out? Okay.
I feel like it's small.
We'll take audience questions right now.
I'm adding in the, this is Chinese cabbage. We've got carrots in here. Oh, the good thing about this book is also you can add in, I love a lot of the recipes because they're clear out the fridge type recipes. Whatever you've got in your kitchen, you can kind of adjust with. So I'm using cabbage, carrots, mushrooms.
And so if you don't have something in your kitchen, then what would you
substitute it out, or you can take it out and see how it goes. Like it should work
for the noodles and the coriander, right?
I think we should saute this up, answer a few questions, and then.
And so, do we want to take some live audience questions right now while we're smelling all the aroma of the food? Sure.
You spoke a lot about balance and just the importance of nutrition in terms of energy. And what I'm finding in my adulthood, like when I was younger, I could eat anything, drink anything. And now in my adulthood, in my womanhood, it's a bit different.
I hear you.
And I'm going through this ebb and flow of finding a balance of like not being obsessive about what I eat and how it, how it sticks or doesn't stick to my body. And so I was wondering, I like to hear other people's journey with that. What is the trigger or that boundary that you put up so then that way you don't tilt into obsessiveness, right? But it's more about mindfulness and being intentional. So I'd love to hear your perspective, especially coming from like scientific background and just being a human being.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. I feel like that's something I also, and I think a lot of women that I've spoken to have struggled with, especially once they kind of hit their 30s. They notice a shift in their metabolism or the way that their body was adjusting. And I've also gone through those phases where I'm constantly focusing on my physical body and then not realizing that what I'm actually feeding myself to maintain my physical body is actually harming my internal body. And I've had to keep that constant balance of, I want to, even if you want to look a certain way, the fact is, if your insides are not working as they should be, you're not even going to be able to go out and do the things that you want to do. And so I've had to constantly balance the thought of, I'm not this body and I want to be of service in the best physical health that I can be in. And sometimes that may mean eating foods that don't necessarily make me look a specific way that I'm seeing online or that people are saying are the depiction of health. And what actually really helped me was, I remember going to a Barry's boot camp session. And I was next to two different types of people, like in physical appearance. One had an appearance of someone that you would maybe think was a model, like had a very slim build. Another person next to me was super muscly. And I was kind of somewhere in between. And I ended up outrunning the person on the left and the person on the right. I was outlifting the person on the left and the person on the right. And it made me realize that like health is what we see health as being, or the depiction of health that we see. And by the way, I'm sure they're both healthy people, but it made me think that, wow, like strength and endurance and being able to have a healthy heart. Like I've started appreciating that so much more as I've gotten older. And yes, I still look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, you know what? I would love a six pack if I could, and I would love this, but am I gonna sacrifice what I love and flavor and the way that I live my life based on that? And if that's the case, then I'll do it. But I personally have had to, I've wanted to go the other way, and I've constantly had to remind myself every time I look in the mirror that what is important to me. I hope that was helpful. Yeah.
As you were saying that, it was just like, it was one of those moments where you just take a deep breath because you have to disconnect that association of fitness and food, because we're so commonly using that as like, I'm going to go on a diet because I want to look better. And I thought that was very unique in your book. Thank that you said, it's actually what you eat.
Just letting you all know that there's veggies are sauteing, and I'm actually going to make the sauce up. And so I'm going to mix it into this bowl. So we have sambal. If anybody doesn't know what sambal is, it's like a really great chili paste. We're going to add that in. You've got tamari or soya sauce.
The 5-spice?
We have, we can all kind of go in. We've got agave, which is going to be, agave, which is a little bit of sweetness, and molasses. Oh my goodness, I love molasses. It's what gives it this kind of, it's a deeper, it's got more depth of flavor. It's got a richness to it that other sweeteners
And what happens if you don't have one of these ingredients in your kitchen?
Oh, you can use brown sugar. You can use any sweetener that you have in the house. And then we've got Chinese 5 spice. This is where all the flavor comes in. It's a blend of 5 spices, and you'll smell it in a second when I add it all in. One other thing that's really important when you're making a dish to consider is having, having a balance of all tastes. And I talk about this in the book as well, where sweet, salty, sour, astringent, and pungent. They're the 5 flavors that we look for in a meal. And when you actually balance all of those 5, that's what's considered the most satisfying meal.
Is that when you feel umami?
Yes,
the sensation
exactly.
Of umami.
So we've done
I smell
that
it right now. So do you want to put, do we need the sesame seeds? Or we
that's going to kind of top it up.
Okay.
And then we're just going to add in the noodles.
I
any
love
more
some fresh
questions?
coriander.
Hey, thanks so much for being here.
Hi, thank you.
I was raised vegetarian and I'm sort of dabbling in veganism.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily to do with either being vegetarian or vegan, but I am constantly starving, like never full. So when you talk about being satisfied, not full, I'm like, what is satisfied?
Do you base your meals around protein at all or no?
I don't like tofu, full disclosure.
Okay.
And then when I track my, when I use like a MyFitnessPal or one of those things, I'm never getting enough protein. But then what I'll find is I'll eat a lot of fruit and a lot of nuts. And I feel like I'm eating a ton of calories, but I'm never full.
One thing I've noticed I have found so much more satiety through building my meals around protein. And if you don't eat tofu, it's simple things like 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds is 10 grams of protein. Adding in chickpea flour has in 1 cup 20 grams of protein. I have a chickpea flour frittata muffins in there. I'll make them, keep them in the fridge. So whenever I'm hungry, rather than reaching for something that feels too snacky, I'll reach for a frittata muffin. There are lots of quinoa, for example. In 1 cup, I think there's like 10 grams of, And so it's difficult, but if you write like a list of your top 10, which I've got there, top 10 like plant sources of protein, and then start building your meals around that. That's what I had to change, because I used to build my meals around my carbohydrates, which was quite normal in my culture, but I started to build my meals around protein instead. And oh my goodness, it made that lasted me so that I wasn't even hungry in the 3 hours in between. And I think that's a key. Healthy fats and good amount of protein in the diet.
Yeah. And maybe that'll transform, like give you better satisfaction in your stomach. I'm interested to see how that works out. Any other questions right now while we're cooking? One in the back.
Pretty much done.
Or right here in the front.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi. I really respect the fact that you took the time to dive deeper into Ayurveda. I feel like that's such like a lost art. Like, I remember sitting at the table with my grandparents and they would know exactly which spices to pair with which vegetables to make your exact symptoms that you've been feeling for days just like go away with a meal and not even take medication. So it's just like such a lost art. And so I was wondering what practices do you have when you're traveling or you're on the go and you don't necessarily have time to be in the kitchen to still eat mindfully?
Good question. Checking the ingredients. I think we forget to do that sometimes. It will say in the front like 0 trans fats and 0 cholesterol and 0 everything, which by the way, you don't even have cholesterol in a food. 0 grams of sugar, but then what actually in this that I'm eating? And so I'd say the fresher the better when I'm traveling. If it's only like deep fried food that I can have, I'll have a salad and I'll try and add in, nuts and seeds and whatever else I can find that they have. And I think my main thing is fresher the better. I have to travel a lot, and that's all I think. I'm like, how fresh can I, what are the things here that is the freshest possible? And if not, let me look at the ingredients and what has the least amount of ingredients. Because the more ingredients there are on the back of something, the more likely is that it's processed and probably not the best. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah. We're passing out some of the dishes.
So how joyful are you feeling right now? This smells good. Everyone is trying it.
We're just
so we're
honestly
gonna
now you just top it off with sesame seeds and some cilantro.
Are you gonna put the cornstarch in it?
Yeah, that could have been in the sauce. I actually forgot to add that in, but it helps it with the thickness. But this has actually become quite thick anyway.
The sous chef was slacking over here, so I'm sorry. I was having too much fun in the kitchen, just smelling the aroma of this food.
Got to add some salt in it, but yeah, salt you'd add in, and then some cilantro, and that's literally it. And if you wanted to add on some protein, I've got salt and pepper crispy tofu in there too.
I can't wait to try it. It looks delicious.
Yes,
and like when you were talking about the colors, you really do see, because you said now, I mean, our sensation is starting, right? Our mind is starting to tell us that it's time to eat. And
we start rumbling.
We weren't using our hands as much as we would in the kitchen, but I think we would have been playing around with the food a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
And so do you want to Should we try it?
Oh my gosh, please.
Let's see if we have a fork and knife. And so while they're bringing out the food, which this looks absolutely incredible, you have over 125 plus recipes in the book. What's been your favorite? Or what's your go-to?
I always keep saying, I'm like, that's like trying to ask someone to pick a favorite child, I imagine. I right now have been making the Mexican lasagna. It's a really easy way to imagine making a burrito but less fat. You're layering things up, chucking it into the oven. So I've been making that a lot. The sticky hoisin noodles I've been making a lot. And a dal. I love a dal. It's just lentils with lots of veggies thrown into it. On top of some basmati rice. That's definitely a comfort food of mine in there. And I've got a red lentil one in there that I absolutely love. Oh, and also desserts, by the way.
I like the...
There's some good desserts in there.
The deconstructed fudge cake that you have, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
And it's all vegan, which is even more spectacular.
Cherry fudge cake. It is.
We're going to need her to come back to cook some more food for us because this is all delicious. And so how's everyone feeling? Any more questions in the live audience? Okay.
What I understood from your question was you asked how you can maximize the nutrient value of when you're cooking vegetables, right? I would say never overcooking them. When a vegetable looks too soggy, it's probably, you're losing a lot of its nutrient value. And so sauteing veggies, to be able, because also having raw vegetables can sometimes make your stomach feel a bit uncomfortable. And so having that balance between sauteing them in oil, that's a perfect kind of consistency. But then also if you are using a pressure cooker, I sometimes add in my veggies after like 10, 15 minutes after, oh no, not 10, 15 minutes, about 5 to 10 minutes after I've added in the rice or the grain, just to make sure they don't go too soggy. But yeah, I'd say those are probably my best tips. That's what I've been doing. Yeah, of course.
Wow, wonderful questions. And as we're talking about all of these different ways that we need to, transform our daily habits, how much time do you spend at the grocery store? How much time do you spend on a daily basis in the kitchen? And how do you incorporate breath work into everything you do inside and outside?
I mean, look, we can all take a deep breath right now. Like, it's part of our being. We can't live without breath. And so every single moment is an opportunity to use your breath to calm you, to energize you, to relax you. And there's so many different types of breath works. It's not just breathing in and out. There are breath works that do specific things for your mind, for your energy levels. And so I recommend exploring that because it depends on what you're trying to get your body to feel in the moment. But you can use it every day. We use our breath every single day. It's just about realizing that it doesn't control us. We can actually try and control our breath to navigate and control our own emotions.
And so when you're kind of, you're preparing food, you're thinking thoughtfully about this, you have a really big social media presence. How do you balance your day and how do you balance your energy throughout and still stay present?
Honestly, I try to avoid anything like any stimulant. So I try to avoid caffeine as much as possible. I know that's probably a difficult one.
That is a little difficult for all.
No, the reason is because once your body ends up relying on something else for energy, and I do the same with sugar. My go-to is like, instead of caffeine, I'm like, oh, I need sugar right now. I need something sweet. But as soon as your body starts relying on something else to bring it energy, your body will just be like, okay, cool, I don't have to do the work. I don't need to produce the serotonin or the energy that my body needs to be happy, to feel like I've got energy, to actually wake up in the morning, because you're going to give me something that's going to do that for me. I'm not saying not to have your coffee in the morning. I'm just saying notice that if your body is requiring coffee to stay awake or to bring energy, there may be something else in the kitchen that you should be doing to enhance that. And so basic vitamins and minerals that you can get through vegetables, it sounds so simple, but that is what our body needs, those vitamins and minerals to create the energy in our body.
And I was just thinking of you last night because in your book or in one of your, I think on the On Purpose podcast, you said don't have a piece of cake at the end of the night. If your body's requiring that sugar, you probably didn't sleep as much as you needed, or your body was tired. And so you might need an added sugar. And I almost did that. I had a nice tiramisu in my fridge, and I was like, am I going in? And I had just baked your 3 ways cookies, and I was like, am I eating one of the cookies? And I think you're right. I felt like I woke up a little bit better today, and I was like, I shouldn't have indulged in that. So.
I've noticed such a big difference of eating sugar late at night and how well I actually sleep. I've been tracking that lately and seeing what the differences are and what I do before bed. And every time I eat sugar too close to sleep time, my sleep quality goes down significantly. And so there are so many different things. It's not necessarily even what you're eating, it's when are you eating it and how are you eating it, that can make such a difference.
Yeah, and I think one of the tips, and I don't want to give the whole book away because you all have to read it, and this is not even, she didn't tell me to say this, y'all, but
I feel like you've really studied the book, so thank you. I appreciate that.
You know what?
I'm like, it does have it in there.
I'm a perpetual student with you, so I love learning new things. And I think you also talked about eating dessert before you have dinner. And I think that's a new concept where it's like, if you want to have something sweet, actually start your dinner off with the sweet and then actually have the savory. And I thought that was interesting.
Our taste buds prefer sweet taste, and so does our digestion. And so we'll start working on the sweet stuff as soon as you've eaten the savory. So better start with it and then eat the savory after. It also helps with your blood sugar levels to just balance them out a little bit more.
Well, I'm sitting here with this beautiful bowl of just colors and udon noodles. This looks delicious. Well, cheers. Did you want to?
Thank you. I will. I will
had enough of it.
To be present and answer any questions. If
any other audience questions? We have one more, and then we'll go to last question. Then we'll go to a rapid fire round.
Great.
Go with me.
Hi. Firstly, congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
And my question was, we live in New York City. Everyone has 2 jobs outside work. My biggest challenge is, how do I find the time to cook, right, in the whole busy week? And I usually start with 2 weeks buying ingredients and being in the kitchen, but a lot of us do not even have the space in the kitchen.
I feel you. I remember my New York kitchen. I was storing things I shouldn't be in my washing machine.
In our ovens. In our ovens, I feel like it's just like another storage closet.
So what are some things that we could do consciously to build that habit of cooking, or even just what are some things we can do without having that space?
Yeah, good idea. I think meal prep is a really big part of it, just chopping things up. Oh, are you talking about space or time, or both? Both. So for time, I'd say meal prepping. So, and by that I don't mean you don't have to make the full meals, but chop up your veggies before. Chopping takes the longest amount of time. That's the longest process of everything. So even if you want to buy ready chopped things, you get diced everything these days already in packets. If that's going to help you get to the kitchen and actually make the food, I would say that's number 1. 2, plan your meals. What do you want to eat? Do I have the ingredients that I need for it? In the weekends, shop for those things, and make sure you have it in the kitchen, because as soon as you realize you don't have one ingredient, okay, I'm just gonna order out now. Okay, there's no, I don't have
Uber Eats is too easy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have this ingredient that I need for this recipe. I'm just gonna order out. So be prepared. Decide what meals you want to make in the week. Make sure you've got the ingredients, and then in terms of space, I keep saying this, but Instapot is your friend. Instapot, 1 pan. You don't really need too many things. If you're starting off cooking, don't worry about getting all the fancy bits and pieces and all the utensils. You need a pan, you need a good knife, you need a chopping board, and an Instapot. And you're pretty much good with that to start off with. So pick under 30-minute recipes, figure out what you want to chop up in the weekend, and hopefully, even if it's just 2 days a week that you're eating at home rather than being eating out, it's still better than eating out, every day of the week.
I think we often forget it's almost the initial investment that we want to make in just getting all the right tools in our kitchen so that we can actually play and have fun.
Exactly.
Because I want to be dancing in all my cooking videos like you are, because I'm usually just, breathing because I want to make sure it tastes good, because I find cutting therapeutic, actually, cutting all the vegetables up, but I find the process sometimes a little overwhelming.
My kitchen is a mess by the end of everything. I make a simple sandwich, and for some reason it looks like I made a meal for 10. It's awful, yeah.
And so I wanted to end with just asking you a few questions, a little bit of fun, having some fun in the kitchen, because we're going to, we played a little bit, we talked a little bit, but I wanted to ask you, of all the recipes that you have in your book, you said your favorite child was hard to pick. Which one did you say it was again?
My recipe?
Yeah, what's your go-to?
Right now, it's been my Mexican lasagna.
Yeah. I have to try it. And so what is your favorite spice or ingredient in the kitchen? It's something that you put in every single dish. Is it asafoetida?
Yeah, I'm going to have to say asafoetida. But also cumin, coriander, fennel. Yeah. CCF.
CCF. And that's something that you said to have in the morning, actually.
I did.
It's part of your morning routine is to drink that.
Yes. Incredible benefits. And I feel like, am I good for time right now?
Yeah. A few more
Like, otherwise I can keep talking.
Yeah.
CCF, it's coriander, cumin, and fennel seeds, all in equal parts in the morning. Helps to purify the blood, your digestive tract, clean out. You know, we sleep for 8 hours. It's when our body actually ends up cleaning. That's a cleaning process happens during the night. And so these gentle spices help your digestion to kind of just clear everything out. Yeah, I've drunk that every morning for like 8 years now. It's great.
So if you were to go out to eat, so say you were busy, you have a very busy schedule and you didn't have time to cook, you forgot to meal prep, maybe that happens to you occasionally?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you forget to meal prep? So where would you?
For sure. I'm like I'm one of those people, I have like 3 things or 4 things in my fridge. I've forgotten to shop. I'm like, what can I make from any of this? And I'll somehow
So where would you go out to eat if you were to go out to eat?
Oh, in LA or New York?
Let's say New York. Both?
New York.
Okay, we want both.
Let's say New York. Oh, what do I love in? Oh, New York, Le Botanist. Has anybody been there?
Yeah.
So good, and it just feels so healthy, and you get all the little, all the different components of your meals that feel like a good balanced meal. Hangawi for a good, sit down meal. I went to Anixi yesterday. That was great. Divya's Kitchen for really clean, nourishing food. I'll stop there.
So if you did a cheat meal, where would you go?
A treat meal. I love a treat meal. I've tried to change my mindset around it. I'm like, not a cheat meal, it's a treat meal. Where would I go? Screamer's Pizza. Anybody been? Pizza by the slice, vegan, amazing, in Brooklyn. I'm honestly, I've been talking about it nonstop to my team. I'm like, we have to get a huge pie, take it on the plane with us, and eat that on the way home. And that's going to be, I'm excited about that.
What's your date night meal with Jay at home?
Oh,
if you were to cook a meal, what would it be?
Good question. It wouldn't really matter what's in the mains. Chocolate for dessert. For him, it's just always about chocolate. So my chocolate mud pie probably that's in there.
What's one thing that you always have in your purse or your bag? I heard you said Tabasco.
Essential oils and Tabasco. Essential oils. One or the other.
Yeah. And a tongue cleaner maybe soon?
Oh, always when I'm packing, tongue cleaner is like the first thing I will pack.
If you could change or supplement one recipe that you already have in the book, because I know it's probably already hard to choose over 125, which recipe would you want to add now, or which recipe would you might want to modify?
Oh, I made 190 recipes for this book, so I had to really pick which ones. There's so many. Honestly, I don't think I can pick one that I would have wanted in. I've created so many recipes since. It's been 3 years in the making, and so there are so many more I could have put in. But I feel like I've got a good balance of so many of them in there.
I love, I'm excited to try all of them. I only tried the desserts so far because I too have a sweet tooth, but I can't wait to try all of the savory dishes as well.
Thank you.
And so we're here at Google and we want to know, what is your go-to Google search?
Oh, everything. I Google everything. What's my go-to Google search? Is X ingredient good for me? Yeah.
Awesome. And so with that, you just launched your first cookbook. We keep saying it's your first cookbook, so that implies there might be more to come. So what's next for you? What's next on your list of things to do?
I'm still figuring that out. I would love to do another book at some point, and just keep sharing what I am. I'm going into a phase of learning again. I really miss studying, and so I feel like I've poured a lot into this book, and now I'm reading like 6 books at the same time. I'm going to start up some courses. I just want to go back into learning, and so I can fuel up to be able to share again.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And I feel like it's such a New Yorker question because we're still celebrating being present with the launch of your first, which has done incredibly well, which we're excited to share with you all. And we're already talking about the next thing, but everyone's so excited to continue to follow your journey and be a part of your journey. So thank you so much, Radhi, for being here with Talks at Google. It's been such a wonderful time having you.
Me too. Thank you so
much.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
This was so great. Thanks.